Hello, everyone, and welcome to this August meeting of minds. I'm here today with my colleague Emily, which is the Senior Research and Development Specialist. Hello, Emily. Are you with us?
Hi, Ida. I'm with you.
And I'm Senior Product Development Manager. And today we're going to talk about child's nutrition and health. And we're going to dive into the status of 2024, what kind of challenges we are facing with our children, with our children's health, and with us as parents. And hopefully at the end, we're going to also discuss some action points that are relevant to cope with the status of 2024. I think we had some additional information that we were going to also share about some translators missing.
Yes, I heard backstage that unfortunately we do not have translation from Finland and from Spain due to last minute sickness.
Okay, so hopefully we will do without them today. And if we have time at the very end, we also try to open up for some questions. But let's see what the time is going to be when we have finished our discussion for today. Okay, I will start with painting a little bit of a negative picture because I would say that we have never been in worse shape, including our children, today as compared to previously. Things and knowledge are improving, of course, every year in some areas, but our status on health is not improving. Today, we are facing a major and rapidly growing problem with childhood obesity and overweight. And this has actually increased 10 times since the 1970s. We are also facing a lot of issues with both us parents and our children not being physical active enough, eating a diet that is based on food products instead of whole foods. And we and our children are also using a lot of screens like computers and televisions in our daily life. Emily, where should we start addressing this topic?
Well, it's what you started to talk about. I mean, the obesity and overweight numbers are high, are really alarming, and we have an alarming trend that we see. So that's perhaps the most natural first thing to talk about.
Yeah.
And in these numbers, we do see, as you said, the increased consumption of fast food and food with high calorie but low in nutrition, and in that we also have this paradox with eating more calories but with less nutrients. So we have this hidden hunger that it's sometimes talked about. So we have the both sides, and
It's true. And from what the statistics are showing us today, I think the estimates are saying around 1 out of 5 up to 1 out of 4 of all children globally are estimated to carry excess weight. And if we compare this to 40, 50 years ago, this was not a problem. This has grown rapidly the last decades. And there's a number of different risk factors and reasons why we are seeing this trend, one of them being our diet. And the other side of the equation that I also would like to highlight today, maybe not that typical for us to talk about, but we cannot proceed without talking about the physical activity part, or that our children are being sedentary, or we are seeing sedentary behavior in children and adults. And if we see today with the society we are living in, we are facing a world where the technology are increasing fast, and where we're using screens more often in schools and homework. And when children are also coming home from school, they often tend to turn on the television or the computer. So one of the things that we need to be aware of as parents are to promote an increased physical activity level, more play, outdoors and indoors use of the body, and to also promote less sedentary behaviors such as screen time use. We know, if we are going to discuss briefly about the recommendations, we know that, for example, children 1 to 2 years of age up to 5, they are recommended to be active for 3 hours per day of physical activity. And children over the age of 5 up to 17 years of age, they are recommended to be active for at least 1 hour. And what we see from the studies today is that 2/3 of European children and adolescents are not sufficiently active. Why do you think we are going down this route, Emily?
Yeah, I have this kind of negative viewpoint on all the screens. I know I can sound a bit negative about it sometimes, but it is closely related, and it's also for us adults with because we are changing the way we are socializing, the way we enjoy our hobbies, what we do, how we learn. Everything starts to be about this quick communication and screen time. So it's not just giving your child the iPad sometimes. It's how we also behave, how everybody behave, how quick you can get access to these calming and the efficient methods. So that is a big part, but we parents, how we behave, or we adults, I should say, are also influencing. So what we see in adults with more work, more living in the big cities, less, need to walk, need to move around, play, the community with sports and so on, we see less of in the bigger society. And I just wanted to add, because I notice how we both speak when we say we as parents. And the fact is that today is the first day of school. I have now 2 children in school, and you have not yet in school, but 1 minor. And me and Ida, we are professionals. We have studied, and I have a doctorate in food and nutrition, and you have a master in food and nutrition and sports science, and have worked with the high athlete, and we are dedicated professionals in this, but we're also parents. So we decided before this meeting that we are going to be a bit more personable, more talk about our own life as parents as well, mixed in with science. So
it is challenging for sure. And one of the things we are facing as parents is the lack of time. So after we are coming home from work, picking up my daughter at the kindergarten, or your kids coming home from school, we have limited amount of time to make dinner, to socialize, to be parents, and to do what is best for us and, of course, our children. I have been talking sometimes about the problems, for example, small babies are facing today with iPad necks, which are very sad, but maybe not that strange, because screen time and screens are used more and more all around in the society. But in fact, under the age of 2, children are not recommended to watch any screen at all. And we know in a hectic daily life, using screen as a pause when we are, for example, making dinner is something that is very common to do. So we need to, of course, be practical about how we are viewing different challenges and the way we are coping today, but still reducing screen time and increasing physical activity are two very important points when we're talking about the health of our children. And I also saw some studies on this I would like to mention, because after 1 hour of screen time, studies have shown that the curiosity in children are decreasing, self-control are decreasing, distractibility is a problem, emotional stability is also decreasing, and after 1 hour, studies have also shown that it's more, the children are facing more difficulties making friends and inability to finish tasks. And if you compare two groups, where one of the groups were reviewing or watching screens more than 7 hours per day, compared to the group watching the least amount of screens with 1 hour a day, the high group were 2 times likely to have been diagnosed with depression, anxiety, and treated by a mental health professional. So really decreasing screen time, anything that you can do to decrease screen time is a good idea, I would say today.
Absolutely, and it's so interesting with the reduced curiosity, because curiosity is so important in so many aspects when it comes to new food, to learn how to eat new food, to meet new people, to find new ways of getting around. It's in so many things that you need, and we will move forward away from screens, but
Yeah.
I just would like to add one of the practical things that sometimes you would, of course, you're going to continue not giving your child screen time, but you have to allow it, of course, because they also want to be in the development and know the things that their friends know. But try to target the behavior, the big picture. For example, try to avoid screens the first thing when you come home from school, from a visit, from something. Because if that's, they are tired, they just would like to go relax. But if you will get that connection in your head, your mind, with coming home is screen time. If you can get away from that, that's one step. Avoid screens when you're eating, except if it's a Friday dinner habit. But try to avoid that, not screens while eating. If you can start with those two, and then it's going to feel a lot more easy to go into other parts of life. So,
Definitely.
should we continue with a little bit with the dietary habits and how that affects child health today?
Definitely. Today we are also eating very differently, and our children are eating very differently compared to how we ate 30 years ago, 50 years ago, 60 years ago. So should we start by maybe characterizing the food or the diet of children in 2024? How does it look like, Emily?
Yes, I think this is no surprise that we do have more fast food in the diet, ultra processed food, and there are more soft drinks, less fruits and vegetable, and also, I shouldn't say less fiber, because we have improved in that area, but it's still too low in many regions in the world. So
I think definitely. And when it, for example, comes to fiber intake, there's a lot of heterogeneity, a lot of differences between countries and regions, and also age groups when we're talking about fiber.
true.
I also would like to maybe start off with I'm not sure if everyone knows, but there is a very critical point of time in a child's health. We are calling this period the 1000 day of opportunity window, meaning the period from when the child is being, or when the pregnancy starts until the child is 2 years of age. What happens during this time, Emily? Why is this important?
This is a time when like the basis for the children's protective factors develop and mature. For example, we have the gut and the microbiome and the diversity that will be like established, the big picture. And that is important for the immune system control, for example, and how you can be protected from how you would be sensitive to different attacks, pathogens, and also regarding allergy, and also with the gene transcriptions and modifying how you would have higher or lower actually risk of getting, for example, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes. Things like this will get a big base during this window.
Definitely.
You can affect it, but as you say, this is a very critical period.
It's a very critical period for brain development, the growth, immune system, and for the foundation later in life. And it is very interesting when we're talking about gut health, because we know that, for example, the way we are born, whether or not it's natural birth or with a C-section, really influence the gut microbiome with the child immediately, just seconds and minutes after being born into this world. And more so, or in addition, if the child is being breastfed or not, has a major influence on the gut microbiome for that child. We also do know that the use of antibiotics, especially during the first years, is harmful. Sometimes you cannot do anything about the use of antibiotics and penicillin, but still trying to avoid that the first 2 years is also very important. And introducing, of course, a variety of different foods during this time can be very beneficial for that child. I have a practical example from my world or from my daughter. I was extremely focused on trying out a method called baby-led weaning when she was younger, meaning that I wanted to have her to feel and taste and get a big and a large introduction of different foods from a very early age. Because there's a lot of studies that have shown that compared to, for example, feeding and smooshing, I don't know the English word right now, but crushing the food into smaller pieces, that's more of a traditional approach to feeding your small child compared to baby-led weaning. There's a lot of advantages coming or related to appetite control, introduction of more food and acceptance of more food later in life, and also weight management, and positive attitudes towards diet. And it's a big mess doing that. I would say that there's food all over the place, but at least in my opinion, it's worth the hassle.
Yeah, it has a lot of interesting science weight behind it now, with it being a method of the curiosity side of children getting to experience and feel and learn how to eat different foods, and that actually increases the variety, because I think that's going to be our lead word during this talk, is the variety in food and the balanced diet that you need. And as you said, with breastfeeding, for example, so we do have numbers that it's only about 42% of children worldwide under 6 month that do breastfeed. And I think it's 45%. I have to check in my side notes. Yes, 45% above 6 months are fed fruits and vegetables. That's not many. That is a time that is actually the perfect thing to start introducing when you're introducing foods is fruits and vegetables. And also nearly 60% of, according to global surveys, do not eat egg, dairy products, fish, or meat. That's a huge number. And if we go into the specific foods, I know that for fish, we have numbers in Norway, for example, where I know that you are from. 80% of children, school children, does not meet the recommended intake of fish. And then we have the US and the UK for up to about 95% of children does not meet the recommendations. And many people think that this recommendation of fish intake already today is set too low. So they are failing to meet even the lowest recommended daily intake of fish.
And that is a problem. And the reason why we are discussing food groups in detail, for example, is but when children and us adults are not sufficiently eating enough of a specific food group, for example, fish, we are at risk of not meeting our daily requirements of micronutrients. For example, omega-3 fatty acids, iodine, and so on. So excluding or limiting important food groups in our diet has major implication for our health, both short-term and long-term. Should we dive a little bit into the importance of omega-3, Emily?
Yes, I would love to. Absolutely. So my special interest and my area is fatty acids and omega-3 fatty acids, especially. And they are essential for our health, and that means that we need to get them from food. The body will not be able to produce sufficient amount of these fatty acids for you to be able to get the optimal function. And those functions that omega-3 is involved in are, for example, being a part of our neurons, our brain, and all of the neurological and also social behavior and mood. So it's a building block, but it's also a signaling molecule involved in cognition, neurological development, and also for your eyes. And especially the brain and the eyes have the same kind of membrane layers and the same need of being able to send signals quickly. It needs to be able to, jump around the signals when you're thinking, when you're looking and viewing, taking in all of the impressions that you see. So it's a very important tissue and very important omega-3 fatty acids that you need, but it's also involved in, for example, cardiovascular health and also in inflammatory response mechanisms, and actually have a significant role in the inflammatory response part.
I haven't really seen any recent number with the children, but I know for a fact that during pregnancy, a lot of women are not meeting their daily requirements of omega-3 fatty acids. Do we have any global statistics on the omega-3 intake in children that you would like to highlight, Emily? What's the status like today?
So most of the nutrition service ask about the fish, and it's only a few that will go into if fish is fatty or lean. So we don't have that kind of data. So we more have children not meeting the recommended intake of fish. But luckily, we do have a major database of people that have gone and tested. We have, for, I don't know today, but the numbers that I'm working with, I think that it's 15,000 children below the age of 10, up to 10.
Wow.
And if we look at those numbers, we have the first testers, they have 97, about 96, 97% have too low omega-3 levels, EPA plus DHA. And it's a bit lower or better for the younger, the really young, for the 2-3-year-olds, 1-2-3-year-olds, it's about 90%. That does not meet the recommended levels in blood.
Maybe that has something to do with some of them being breastfed for a long time and draining on the mother's reserve, for example. But
Yes.
that sounds like the statistics with the youngest age groups are close to what we're seeing in adults. And I did, speaking about childhood overweight and obesity, I did find one study where I saw that obese children, they had a lower omega-3 index compared to non-obese children, whereas 33% of the children with excess body weight, obese children, had omega-3 index below 4. And compared to the non-obese, that was only 17%. I was going to ask you a question. It slipped for me, but we have talked about the importance of omega-3 intake and the importance of having good omega-3 index during childhood. Is there anything else we should add? There are some differences on the targets that children should reach compared to adults. Should we mention that briefly? Why that is?
Absolutely. So children and adults are so different on the inside and on how you mature and develop, and children grow and their cells haven't fully matured yet. So they do other processes. So actually the amount of omega-3 in the diet, perhaps this can be confusing, but per kilo body weight, a child needs more than an adult. They burn more, they need more, they use it for more. But on the levels, when you take a blood test and you look at the proportion of different fatty acids, how much in total, of the total do you need? Only the omega-3 does not need to be in the same level as adult, because it's not naturally, it's not, because you have the omega-6 fatty acids that are equally important for our health. They are higher in the blood when you are a child. So about 6% is the target that we recommend in order to get a balance between the omega-3 and 6, or 6 and 3, to about 5-1 or lower. And for adults, the recommended level that we have is 8% in order to reach the 3-1 ratio between omega-3 and omega-6.
Interesting. Going back a little bit to what we discussed about the different food groups and this critical period in a child's life, the 1,000 first days from being inside the mother until the child is 2 years of age. We also should mention that a period is emerging for the majority of all children, and that period is called neuphobia,
yes,
natural skepticism or fear of food. And this period is beneficial to some degree because the child is then decreasing the risk of actually ingesting harmful foods or non-foods, like poisonous plants and so on. But there's also a very demanding period for the parents in order to try and keep on trying on giving a big diversity in the foods during this time. It peaks around the age of 18 months, but it's very prevalent from 18 months up to 6 years of age. Do you have anything to add or that we should go into in relation to?
I think that it's very important to mention it and talk about it, because it affects more than when we might realize, because this is a challenge, especially now when we have so many options out there. We have one of the main reasons or challenges towards child obesity is the amount of marketing towards children. And everywhere you look, you see these bright colors and the child characters, figures that's so easy for children to want to have. And if you connect that with a period of time when you also don't want to try everything, that a child is scared of different tastes or textures, that can be extra demanding. So it's an extra demand phase now when they also can see a lot of other things that they know taste good. And it's, as you said, the sweet, that's often what we're born to prefer, and the bitter that during the first years the children wants to avoid.
Definitely, because children are having a natural preference for sweetness. The reason for it is because the mother's milk, the breast milk, is naturally sweet, and also formulas, of course. So the less problematic taste to introduce and to promote in a child's diet is the sweetness. So sourness, bitterness, umami, all of the other tastes are the ones we should focus on. I also want to, do you have anything to add?
Yes, and that's perfect for why you should start to introduce fruits and berries with the first meals when you try new food, because of you have the sweetness. Often you have the sweetness. And even though you might not taste it directly, you do have the bitterness, and you do have sour and a lot of other flavors that will, even though it's not that noticeable, you will get it. Your body will learn to handle it, and then you can start from there and introduce more. So working with the sweetness preference that children have, and also having perhaps fish in one small bite, and then a sweet carrot as the second bite, and working with that, and start with good habits.
And the risk of children eating more variety in their diet increases if you have been really trying to introduce a lot of different tastes and a lot of different foods before this nephobia period or stage is really emerging. So using this time before the age of 1.5 years up to 2 years is a good idea if you want to invest in a child's taste preferences and diversity for long-term health. And I also wanted to go back to what you said about marketing. For example, here in Norway, if I have understood the laws correct, I think that it is illegal to promote unhealthy snacks toward children, but that does not apply for the packaging material. So when a child is entering a supermarket, they will be exposed for numerous of colorful food products. I won't even say that some of them are food, but you know what I mean, snacks and unhealthy foods with cartoon characters and yeah, a lot of different things that really are trying to get their attention. And the same with us adults. We see on a lot of these packaging materials that it's high in fiber or high in protein and it's so healthy. But in general, all of these colorful food products, they are in fact what we're calling ultra processed foods. And I really want to make a little bit of a time talking about ultra processed foods. We are talking a lot about that, but I just wanted to say that today our foundation in the diet is based on these foods. And ultra processed foods, they are not foods that we need to that big of an extent in our diet. They are created to taste amazing. They are created based on profit for the industry. They are typically containing a lot of excessive additives that is not necessary for food safety, but that is necessary for food shelf life, for example, and for looking attractive. And all of these ultra-processed foods, they are far from what we can find in nature. For example, there are yogurts that are being processed, super duper should be part of our diet. And we have other yogurt types that are ultra processed with a lot of different additives and unnecessary things that we doesn't really need. So making an attempt to reduce these foods in our diet is very important, especially talking about child's health, because children have smaller tummies than we adults do. So these foods are taking up very vulnerable space in the child's diet, space that could have been used to fill with other more nutritious foods containing more vitamins, more minerals, more omega-3 fatty acids, antioxidants, and so on. And from the statistics, we know that babies under the age of 2 years in the UK are consuming 30% ultra-processed foods. And by the time children are 5 years of age, 50 to 60% of the foods that they are consuming are these ultra-processed foods. This needs to stop, or at least slow down. So having attention towards these types of foods are important for parents. I am not saying it's easy to avoid. I cannot avoid all of these foods. I try to limit them as much as possible, but at least focusing on filling up with more whole foods with a better nutrition profile is a good idea.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And this is a huge problem. And we know that we will not solve it by talking about this today. We only want to inform about the big problems. And we know actually what I would like to do is try to make parents and even you health practitioners listening to realize that you yourself are probably using more high processed foods than you realize or want to accept. I have had several discussions or just talks, I would say, with parents where they start to say, no, we only eat wholesome and foods from real food. And when they start to talk, they realize how much ultra processed they have. So just being aware and go to yourself and just think, and then also try to inform what is this taking up space from, what is lacking, and a way out of this, or a way of trying to go against this society that we have that are allowing this, is to first of all make sure to get the most important nutrients, the one that we see gets the too little of or down prioritized or so on. try to get them into your kids' diet, because this is a short time where they're growing a lot, and the brain are developing, and the immune system is developing, and the gut, for example, with all of its flora. So try to start with getting in, fill up with the nutrients that you know that you need. And then, yes, you will have space to be a human being and, yeah, be led by the society.
Definitely.
Mm.
And also with having said that, we are the most important role models for our children. And one thing here in Norway that we are buying extreme amounts of, actually, the one thing we're using the most money on when it comes to foods in Norway are carbonized sodas. That doesn't provide any good nutrients at all. So if we would like to see a change in our children or our adolescents, we also need to be good role models for them. Not saying, for example, no to unhealthy snacks while eating them in front of them. So really be aware on how we are behaving in front of our children. Yeah, I think also one thing that we should add, or maybe move on to, is when we know when we are facing these problems with too high intake of ultra processed foods, we know that we are not consuming enough omega-3 fatty acids. We know that certain vitamins and minerals, for example, we know that vitamin D deficiency on a global scale is a major problem with over 1 billion people affected.
Mm.
We know that folate is a problem. Zinc can be mentioned, iron, iodine, vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin K, choline. When we know that in different age groups and in different parts of the world, children are facing a lot of difficulties with not meeting daily requirement, what can we do besides, of course, focusing on more nutritious foods?
I know that I'm a person that talks about a varied and balanced diet, and at the same time, I have chosen to focus a lot on one food group, fish. So that's I'm a bit talking against myself here. But for all of those nutrients that you mentioned, that we see in research that on a global scale, we do see everywhere. It's widespread. It's not the same everywhere, but it's widespread with those nutrients. And you can get all of these nutrients from fish. And vitamin D, for example, fish is the major dietary source of vitamin D. So by not eating the fish, you don't get the omega-3 and you don't get the vitamin D. And then you need to be out in the sun during the summers and not live in Sweden. So, because we don't have sun that provides vitamin D for so many months during the year. And yes, so start eating fish. But if you're, for several reasons, not able to get your children to eat all of this, you're not able to be perfect at once. We are, of course, we are working for a company that produces food supplements. And we are highly involved in both the kids segment of this process, or of these supplements. And we are involved because we, first of all, are very much educated in this area, but also we both are very passionate about children's health and well-being. So for me, with the omega-3 supplements, you should supplement if you're not able to get the fish into your diet 2 to 3 times a week, or potentially more based on what you believe in the science.
Definitely. And when I took my bachelor degree a long time ago, yeah, it doesn't really matter, maybe 15 years ago, but regardless, we were told that supplements weren't really needed, and that we could cover our daily intakes through food alone. Today, my strong opinion is that that is not possible. We need supplements to improve our health, and that also includes our children's health. So the quick fix, and I would say the most giving thing you can do from one day to the other, is start supplementing. And in that sense, we should do that with caution, of course, and we should also not just hand out the supplements to our children, but teach them about good habits, healthy routines, and really empower children to take control over their own health. For example, with our two very important supplement for children, the Balance Oil Tutti Frutti, and the other, of course, flavors, and the recent addition, Multify. These two supplements should be in every family's cabinet in the kitchen, I would say, because it has very important implication for our child's health. The Multify, if I start with that, is a smart and elegant food supplement targeting immune system growth and development in children, and it has 16 key essential nutrients that we see might be a problem in different regions, different age groups, and in different countries around the world. By introducing Multify in our child's diet, we can be confident as parents that they will meet their requirement of these particular micronutrients. So from one day to the other, I would say that this has the most efficient mean when we're talking about a child's health. Would you like to add something about the balance oil, Emily?
I think you hear me talk so much about fish and fish consumption, and that the protection of the food itself is a major cause or reason for why the food works and are healthy. And with the balance oil, you are providing your child with the omega-3 part of the fish. You still need to get the other aspects of fish that you're not getting from the oil. Proteins, zinc, other trace elements and minerals. You need to get that, for example, from a multivitamin as Multify. But you will get the omega-3s, and you will get the polyphenols or the antioxidants that always should go together with omega-3 in order for it to be safe, and also to be, not correctly, what's the word? Efficiently absorbed and not wasted because of not being protected enough. Because if it's not protected in the gut, it might not be able to go through the intestinal barrier to go into your body to do any good. And we know this, and this is why it feels so safe to talk about this with this confidence, that we have tests, and we have several tips on how to test or what to do with a test with children. I don't know if we have time to talk about this, but that's why you need to go into the web page of the test web page, zinzinotest.com, and go to information and to children. And there you can go around and read, and there you will get tips on how the testing. If you don't want to take a test on your kid, you can bring it to your doctor, for example, while you're already doing blood control, and get them to drip blood. There we have many tips for that if you would like to test to be sure.
Definitely.
I can talk more, but over to you.
Yeah. No, I think that there's a lot of things that we can do as parents, and we have painted maybe a little bit of a negative picture of the world today and the status of 2024, but we need to be realistic. It's not looking that good for either us or for the children. we are getting more and more sick. We are getting in big or more and more trouble compared to before, because we are living and eating differently compared to the past. And some of the blame can be put on the industry, and some of the blame can be put on ourselves. But when it comes to a child's health and future, it's up to the parents to be the responsible one, and for making sure that that child has the most possible optimal outcome for a good long-term health. So I think that every parent out there is as motivated as I am when it comes to trying really hard to be the best, or doing the best for our child. And yeah, one of the things that we have been talking about is bringing back these nutrients in the diet that we are seeing is a problem in relation to meeting daily requirements of, for example, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and omega-3 fatty acids and fibers. We have also talked about the importance of trying to increase physical activity, playing with them, decreasing sedentary behavior and screen time, and also the importance, of course, of being good role models. And everything starts with us. If we want to see a change in our children, we should be the first one making sure that that change has happened with us as well. Putting away those phones after dinner, or taking them out for a stroll in the woods if we have the possibility to do so. Yeah, really trying to do an effort with ourselves too. I'm thinking that I don't really have anything more to add at this stage. We have separate presentations and talks about the importance of balanced oil for kids. We also have the same for Multify. Do you have anything to add, Emily? And if we have time, maybe we can take a question or two.
The only thing I would like to add is that I like to not blame parents too much. You did not blame parents, but I would also like to raise all of the parents and all of you that work with parents, towards parents, that by taking responsibility is to listen to what the alarms or the trends are saying, to listen to tips. For example, I started to look at the efforts made in the home as hacks instead of I have to think about this, I have to think about this, but trying to find small hacks in everyday life to make me happier, children happier. For example, bringing a banana and avocado with both have peel on it, so you can bring it in your bag and then you mush it together, and that's a perfect snack for a small child. Things like this. Start to find hacks, listen to the trends, and get those nutrients, the lacking nutrients first. If I look at the question, I just saw one here that I can start with that fish have heavy metals, so it's better to take the balanced oil. And although I love the smiley face and taking the balanced oil, I also would like to say that with fish and also with many other things, science actually show that the risk of not eating fish are bigger than eating fish with heavy metals, not the ones with a lot of heavy metals. So eat fish, take balanced oil so you get enough, get those nutrients first, the important ones first.
And remember that the risk of not meeting the daily requirement of important key nutrients such as vitamins and minerals are increasing when children and adults are not eating specific food groups, and when we're having a high intake of these ultra-processed foods that are typically low in key nutrients. I also would like to say that there's a lot of things that we can do in our society, and there's a lot of things we have mentioned today that we maybe should try to limit or avoid. But the first thing always when we want to bring a change is to focus on the things that we want to do more of. So focus on the things that you would like to introduce or start doing instead of being focused on what you should limit or avoid, because it comes naturally. By introducing more fruit and vegetables, we have less space in our gut for unhealthy snacks, for example.
Absolutely. Well said. And also, if you're not don't have all of the ideas and motivation to do it all by yourself, then surround yourself with people that wants to do it and that inspires you and drags you along with making activities for the kids or trying to cook and grill new things.
Definitely. And explain to them why things are important, why we are taking, for example, Multiply, why we are eating fruit and vegetables. Have things available. Make sure you have healthy snacks or the supplements you need in your kitchen. Yeah. And
yeah,
also,
that's good point. That's a really good hack, that you prepare your vegetables for the dinner and then you put it in front of the children before the dinner. And children that say that the parents say that they don't eat greens, they eat when you put it in front of them like that. So
yeah. I also would like to just quickly answer one question. It was a question in relation to folic acid. We have folate, folate is the nutrient, and there's different forms of folate that you can use in a supplement. And at Zinzino, we are using something called quatrefolic, a glucosamine salt, that has the highest bioavailability out there, and it's not folic acid, the synthetic form that is facing a lot of criticism. We're using this form of folate in both Multiply and in Extend, and in Extend Plus we are having folate from the natural source of buckwheat sprouts, just to clear that up once and for all, so that we know that we're actually using a very potent and high bioavailable source.
Ida, we also have a fiber powder. Can
Mm-hmm.
children eat Synbiotic?
Yes, they can eat Synbiotic, but please remember that children are having a much more sensitive gut than adults. They are still developing their gut microbiota, and we need to be very considerate when we are using different fiber types or introducing, for example, Synbiotic to them. So I would say that if you are including Synbiotic in a child's diet, please start very small, maybe half a scoop in relation to foods, a meal, and then use at least half of the dose that we are recommending to adults. Yes.
Perfect.
Oh, okay,
Right.
I see the time is up, Emily. This has been a very fun hour with you.
I agree.
Thank you very much for all your valuable input. And thank you very much for the feedback in the chat and for the questions we have gotten. And yeah, wish you all the best. Go and conquer the world and take care of the children's health and nutrition status. Thank you.